This is N4NT with the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net, and we're looking for early check-ins. Anyone that would like to check in early, please call now.
KJ7 NRP in and out. N4NT, please check in KL1CA. Crystal.
All right, we got KJ7 NRP. That's Mike in Washington. Got you checked in and out. Thanks for joining us tonight. And KL1ZA, Jim here in Bristol. Got you checked in, and we'll be back for comments. This is N4NT with the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net. Looking for early check-ins. If you would, give your call sign, name, and location. If you are going to stay for comments, just check in. If you wish to be in and out, let us know.
KL4 AVG. Chester and Bristol.
WA4JCF, Wayne in Bristol, Tennessee.
Kilo Delta 4, Whiskey Mike X-Ray, KD4 WMX, Cannon Quiet Lodi.
November 4, X-Ray Romeo Delta, Ralph, Chilhowie, Virginia. Good evening.
Kilo Whiskey 4, Golf. GW4AG, Dennis, Gate City, Virginia.
All right, let me acknowledge what I got here so far. KO4 EVG, WA4 JCF, KD4 WMX, N4 XRD, and KW4 AG. We'll be back to each one of you for comments. Any other stations like to get on the list early for the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net, please call now. This is N4NT with the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net, looking for early check-ins. Any station like to check in early for the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net, just let us know if you're going to be in and out. Otherwise, if you just check in, we'll come back for comments. Please call now. This is N4NT. We've got about 10 minutes before we start the net. Anyone like to get in on the check-in list early, please call now.
Net Control, please check in. KD4 CCO, Dallas, Bristol.
All right, we picked up KD4 CCO, Dallas and Bristol. Any other stations like to check in, please call now. This is N4NT with the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net. We are looking for early check-ins. Early check-ins, any station that wants to get on the list early, please call now.
Good evening, Adam. Kilo 1 Alpha 8, Yankee Echo Zulu.
All right, we picked up KA8YEZ, Matt, and sometimes Lydia in West Virginia. Good to have you joining us tonight. We'll be back for comments. Any other stations, please call now.
KD8RRK, also in West Virginia.
We'll check in this evening, Adam, but I'll be in and out, but probably listening off and on here for the net. Thank you. AB8RL from the Scott Depot, West Virginia.
All right, and that recognizes KD8RRK. Got Jeremy in West Virginia, and AB8RL, Tom in Scott Depot, West Virginia. Tom's checking in and out tonight. Thanks for joining us tonight, Tom. Are there any other stations that would like to check in early? Please call now.
Net Control, please check in N8SLS, November 8 Sierra Lima Sierra, Dana in Culloden, West Virginia.
All right, we picked up N8 SLS, Dana in Culloden, West Virginia. Thanks for joining us tonight, Dana, and we'll be back for some comments. Any other stations, please call now. All right, just a quick reminder, you can follow the net on NetLogger with free download at netlogger.org, or you can go to K3CLR, that's Kilo 3, Charlie Lima Romeo.com on any internet-capable device and look up Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net and follow along that way. If you are new with us tonight, we do have each person pass the net onto the other, so just throwing that out there a little early for preparation's sake. Is there anyone else that would like to check in? Please call now. Okay, I have just under 2 minutes before we start the net, and we'll acknowledge that Jeremy, KD8RRK, checking in with us for the first time tonight, so we're glad to have you. Is there any other stations that would like to get on the list early? Please call now. Okay, just a quick reminder before we get started here in less than a minute. Of course, we are on a digital format, and we are crossing over from Wires X to FCS, and with that comes the need to, whenever a person unkeys, to wait just a few seconds before we key up after them, let everything reset. And, of course, when you push the button, always give it a second or two before you start talking, and that gives everything a chance to kick in and catch every portion of what you said there. So we'll go ahead and stop the early check-ins at this point and get started with the net. So let me say good evening and welcome to the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Weekly Digital Fusion Net. This is N4NT. My name is Adam, and I'm net control for this evening's net. At this time, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance before we begin the net. So we ask that you please stand, remove any headgear, and face the flag if you have one available. Place your hand over your heart, and veterans may render a salute and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This net meets each Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time in the QSO America room 43815 with FCS Reflector FCS4 room 54. The Bristol Amateur Radio Club Fusion room 61243 will serve as a backup should QSO America be down at net time. Whenever possible, recordings of this net are uploaded to the Ham Radio Zone YouTube channel and or broadcast live, which we are doing tonight. Visit the net website at tcme for Tri-Cities Mountain Empire, tcme.club for net info and links to these and other pages. This net emanates from the Tri-Cities area consisting of counties in northeast Tennessee and the Mountain Empire of southwest Virginia. This net features connections from the Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia 147.000 repeater and the Mears Mountain Empire Amateur Radio Society 443.000 repeater on White Top Mountain in Virginia. These two repeaters cover most of the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire region, and thanks to a partnership with the Friends of Amateur Radio Group, allowing us to use QSO America, we now have nodes and repeaters connected in various areas such as Harvey, Illinois, Jasper, Georgia, and more to come. And we want to say thank you to those who connect just for the net as well. I know our West Virginia friends are connected with us tonight, and we certainly appreciate you all. Check us out on NetLogger, available at netlogger.org to follow the net. That's a free download. And you can also access the net from any internet-capable device at K3CLR, that's Kilo 3 Charlie Lima Romeo.com, via his on-air net scraper. If you don't follow along the net one of these two ways, if you have a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper handy, in a little bit we'll ask that you write down the call sign and name of the person after you, and we'll have you pass the net on to them. We welcome all amateurs to check in, and at this time we're going to take regular check-ins. When checking in, please give your name, call, and location. Let us know if you're going to be in and out. Any station that would like to check in, please call now.
Whiskey 4, Tango Mike Kilo, Mitch in Bristol.
All right, we picked up one more there, W4TMK, Mitch in Bristol. Thanks for checking in. We'll be back for some comments. All right, so we're going to go ahead and run this list. If you're out there and you want to check in with us, stand by and we'll pick you up after we run the list. Of course, if you are joining us on NetLogger or YouTube, you can send us a message and let us know you're there, and we'll tack you on to the end of the list for comments. And we also take proxy check-ins if you can't join us via the radio. All right, so I hold in my hand the envelope. As a child of 4 can plainly see, it has been hermetically sealed and kept in a mayonnaise jar on Funkin' Wagnall's porch until noon today, but I will, in my somewhat mystic and semi-divine way, ascertain the contents. So tonight's topic is going to be, and let me just say before I reveal that we are not limited to the topic. Commenting on the topic is optional, and anything that you would like to comment on is welcome. So anyway, with that out there, tonight's topic is going to be, tell us about your first test session, the one where you walked in without a call sign, you sat down and took the test, and then later became a licensed ham, and how long did it take you to get your call sign? With various timeline of, actually I got to run the list after I reset, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so tonight's list as we have it right now, I'll start things off. I'm in 4NT, and then I'll be passing it to KL1ZA Jim. Jim, you'll pass it to Chester, KO4EVG. Chester, you'll pass it to Wayne, WA4JCF. Wayne, you'll pass it to Ken, KD4WMX. Ken, you'll pass it to Ralph, N4XRD. Ralph, you'll pass it to Dennis, KW4AG. Dennis, you'll pass it to Dallas, KD4CCO. Dallas, you'll pass it to Matt, KA8YEZ. And Matt, you'll pass it to our newcomer tonight, Jeremy, KD8RRK. And Jeremy, you'll pass it to Dana, N8SLS. And Dana, you'll pass it to our current tail gunner, Mitch, W4TMK. Okay. Well, the first test session that I ever attended, I actually had, I was 15 years old, and I had a local ham come and pick me up at my house and take me to the test session. I was going for the no-code technician that night, and he was going for his advanced class license. And I think he was just taking the written test at that time. And I remember some of the fellows that were at the test session because they later became good friends and mentors. And I went to Chilhowie High School is where I obtained my license, and it was February of 1992 is where when I took the test. And it wasn't until May of 1992 that I actually received my license in the mail. It was early May when I got it, late February when I took the test. So that's, and you can imagine being 15 years old and waiting that long to get a license. And I see some people on social media worrying to death and concerned and even complaining about waiting 3 or 4 days. So anyway, and one of the fellows, a couple of them actually check in from time to time here that were at that test session, just to name a couple that were VEs that night, and Gary KM4X was one of them, and Ron NM4L was one of them. And I want to say Dallas was there too, and I can't remember if he was doing an upgrade or what, but seems like I might remember him being there. So that was my story as far as the topic goes, and then as far as other comments, I've been kind of enjoying playing around with the hobby, and I actually have been working on straightening out my logbook a little bit from where I've transferred it from one computer to the other, and getting some data straight, and figuring out that I've actually in this one net that I check into, Ole Miss, I've actually earned a few awards that I just never really kept up with, and by transferring things onto Excel spreadsheets and sorting the data, I'm figuring all this stuff out with a lot greater ease than I would have years ago with pen and paper. So anyway, I'm enjoying that, and I'll maybe update you on the progress of some of that later on as soon as I get all that situated. So with that, I'll pass it on to KL1ZA, Jim.
Thanks, Adam. This is KL1ZA Jim, Bristol, Tennessee. I took my test session in May of 2006 in Wasilla, Alaska. My classes, I was taking a basic class. It was offered through the Matanuska Amateur Radio Association, MARA. And the classes were not done yet, but there was a testing session. So they encouraged everyone to go to the test session and see whether they could, get the test in, or whether they could pass the test. So I got my test done before the end of the class, and I was one of the last of the KL1 call signs. Several others were KL1ZB or Zebra Charlie, but I was Zulu Alpha, and I intend to keep that for the rest of my life. It was in a red, I'm going to let this breathe for a second. This is KL1ZA. It was in a Red Cross meeting room And the people who were taking the code test went to a different room so they wouldn't distract us. And then they handed my tech, and they handed me a general, even though we still needed code in that time to be a general. But I didn't pass the general then. I didn't pass that until 2009. With that, I will say 7-3 and turn it over to Chester. KO4 EVG. Take her away, Chester.
KO4 EVG, Chester in Bristol, Tennessee. I'd always wanted to get into the hobby. I guess time just never allowed me. I had a good friend back in the day. He was a retired Air Force radio engineer, and he tried his best to get me into it, but I guess I just had other things that I thought were more important. But I've always loved it, always been interested in it. So now that I'm retired, I decided one day that it was time I took the test. So I studied a little bit, and it was during COVID. Got to trying to find a place to take the test, and I ran across one. Johnson City Club was giving it. Let me take a breather. So I went by the meeting place, which was Washington County, Tennessee Life Saving Crew, and I've never been one to like to walk into a crowd of people that I didn't know. But when I went through the door, there was no strangers. Everybody in there was just like me, and everybody was associating with everybody, and the proctors all came around and checked on us, made sure we was doing okay before we took the test. I passed the test and should have went on to the next class, but I figure I'll do that later. But took me about right at 4 weeks to get my call sign. And Adam was talking about being 15, chomping at the bits. I was 65, chomping at the bits, like a 15-year-old. But I did get it, and due to my disability, I got some friends that helped me stick an antenna up, and I guess that's where we're at. 73s to everybody. And with that, I'll turn it over to WA4 JCF. That'll be Wayne in Bristol. KO4 EVG.
K04 EVG. I think that's, I'm reading it off of YouTube here. Chester, this is Wayne WA4JCF, Bristol, Tennessee. And I was trying to remember, I guess with 78, I guess in June, it'll be a 79-year-old brain. I have not found any young person willing to sell me their brain, so I'm stuck with this one. So I'm trying to remember when I first got my amateur license. I believe it was in the 60s.
maybe the year I graduated from high school, 1963, or sometime in there. And I got the novice call WN4JCF. That's what I started out with. And it seems like that back then it was you went before an individual, and it seemed like I took the code test, and I can't remember who gave me the novice test. Perhaps Bristol Amateur Radio Club did. But then I noticed that I came in for the conditional test, conditional license, which existed back then. If you didn't go to an FCC examining point, and you had other ham radio operators that gave you the test that was not official part of the FCC, and you got this mail that was called a conditional license. And I remember I had to take the code test in one place, and then somebody else had to give me the written test because the person who gave me the code test wasn't old enough to give the written test here, something like that. That worked out. But then they, a few years later, they started circulating the rumor started floating around, or there were some kind of announcements that were being made that they were going to do away with the conditional class license, and you had to appear before the FCC if you want to keep your ham radio license and take the test. And I said, well, let me recycle the timers here. Okay, it dropped out on the YouTube, so hopefully that means that I'm cycling everything down. But I remember dealing with some other people who were in my Sunday school class that were in the ham radio operators, drove down to the Atlanta Ham Fest and took the general class down there, and I know they had a bus or a cab or a van or something that took a bunch of us to the FCC testing from the Ham Fest site. And we appeared there, and people said that when you paid your money to take the test, said, put advanced class. That's the highest you could go on a 13 word per minute code test. So that's what I did. And I remember I struggled through the 13 word per minute code, and then took the general class test, and I was really sweating, and I said, oh my gosh, that advanced going to be really tough. But it seemed like the advanced test was something like, does electricity flow through wires or something like that. Very, the test was randomly given, and I had to pick up an easy advanced class test. And then I remember as we came back to the site, I believe we were told there at the FCC site that we had passed, and I believe it was. And I noticed it on the way back. By the time we got back to the Ham Fest, they had made an announcement that the people who had conditional class licenses was going to be grandfathered into a general class license. They had, they made the official decision. So it looks like I had to say, well, I got an advanced class license out of it. Of course, those don't exist anymore, but. Anyway, that's how I came into it, and it's well, here comes the hum. See if I can get rid of that. Anyway, I certainly enjoyed it, and I think, like as I've told people before I went off the air, it seemed like when I came back from the military service, I ran it for a while, and it seemed like I put the tower up in 1978, or that's what's been carved into concrete at the base of the tower, which still exists. The tower's not there anymore. And I ran it for a few more years, and shut down to relieve the RF pollution from the neighborhood here. But anyway, it was an enjoyable hobby. And when I was in the military, I had a station out in just south of Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, hang on. Okay, my voice, something beeped at me on the radio. I think I exceeded the timer on my own radio here. It started beeping at me. But anyway, I enjoyed the hobby. Had a little ham station set up out there and got on a little bit, and came back up right here in Bristol for a while. I certainly enjoyed it while I was on it, and then the opportunity to get back on the air again. I just decided I would just check it out, see what it's like. Started coming to the Bristol Amateur Radio Club meetings for a while, and then decided to give this a try. Anyway, I've certainly enjoyed it. Now, I have another question here. Let's see, again, it's just by some psychic phenomena or something that you're after me, and I decided to use Google Maps and go look up Quiet Lodi, and the search engine kind of responds, that doesn't exist, but I did find a Lodi, so I guess it means that Lodi is a quiet town, is what I came up with. It looked like it was kind of a small community, but I did find it. And so, anyway, Ken, over to you. KD4 WMX. This is WA4 JCF, Bristol, Tennessee. Wayne.
Well, this is KD4 WMX, and yes, you're right, it is called Lodi. I just add the quiet because it's very quiet here, and we like it that way. But, real quick, I also went to a class to take study for my amateur license, and it was in an elementary school at night, and then went to same school to test, and they moved it up a week because of Thanksgiving that year, '93, and so I was cramming, and of course I passed it. I passed the technician class, and I had a friend who was taking class with me, and we took a novice test. It was a practice test, but if we passed it, it counted. You got that. And he got a 98, and I got a 95. So he rubbed that in for a long time. But also, I want to say real quick that I'll be picking up a maroon Jeep Cherokee next week, and I'm going to bring it down to Volunteer Parkway to see just how fast it'll do. And with that, I'm going to say 73 to everybody, and I'm going to have the pleasure to turn it to N4XRD, Mr. Ralph. Talk to us, buddy. KD4 WMX clear.
Well, thank you, KD4 WMX, Ken. This is N4XRD, Ralph in Chilhowie, Virginia. My stories, I'm just going to tell you my whole little story here. Started in probably August or September 2018. We were rolling across the prairie, and life had been good to us. Life continues to be good to us. And my wife asked me, is there anything in life that I wanted to do that I haven't done? She started out saying, is there any place I wanted to go that I hadn't been? I told her no, I was satisfied. So then she asked me what I wanted to do or what I hadn't done, and I said, well, one thing I haven't done is I always wanted to be a ham radio operator. So she got after me to come back home and get started on that mission. My brother had become a general back in the spring of that year, and he still had his general manual, so he gave that to me, and I started studying that. And I started actively listening to some SDR stations on the internet, and had a little SDR radio I hooked up to my computer. Later, as I continued to study, and later I got a Yaesu FT450D. Didn't hook the microphone up, but I did run a wire out the window and just crudely plugged it straight into the connector on the back. Just a raw wire, and it went out to a tree about 130 feet away. So that was my first station, so I'd sit up there with that little radio on a TV dinner table and study my manuals. I'm making this a long story, I'm sorry. But anyway, so found out about mirrors and found out that they had testing sessions, and finally on March 15th of 2018, I guess it was 2017 when I started studying. Anyway, I showed up for a mirrors meeting in Abingdon at the library, and some of the members that are on the net tonight were there as PEs. And I watched a fine presentation by Nick on building a 2-meter antenna, and then the testing session began, and the cold sweat was rolling down my neck. So I took the technician test and passed it, and I was prepared to take the general test, and I took that and passed it. I have no idea what my scores were, I didn't care. And they asked me if I wanted to take the extra test, and of course I just laughed at that. But the next morning, I was checking on the internet early in the morning, and there was a call sign, KN4KQT. Well, that's a cute one. But I rolled with it for a while and found out that people had trouble with that call sign. So I got my license on the 16th. I guess that was a Friday, and by Sunday I finally got up enough nerve to talk on the radio. My first contact was a gentleman named Daniel Boggs, KB8 OTM down in Florida on South Cars. He was cordial and helpful to me. I was on my little FT450D running 100 watts into an NPID half wave, which I'm still using to this day. The second contact was a mobile Parks on the Air, so I was on a roll there. He was down in Savannah. And my third contact was DX, a Canada station. My fourth contact that night was KD4WMX, first 70 centimeter, my first UHF contact. So I had quite a story, quite a good time with all those people. And I thank Mirrors, and I thank all the many hams who have encouraged me, for without them I would not be a ham today. Finally, my last comment is, after less than 2 months, I realized that my call sign was difficult for people, so I searched around and applied for N4XRD and got that on May 8th, 2018. And someday I'll become an extra. N4XRD, I'm going to pass it off to KW4AG, Dennis in Gate City.
Yeah, it's an N4, KW4AG. Good to hear everybody in here. Yeah, I've got my, took my test in Kingsport, I believe. Took the tech and passed it, and took the general, and so I studied for that for about a month and a half, 2 months, and took that and passed it. And then I found out about 2 months later that there was a class down in Elizabethton. The Clare County Club was doing a class. So I signed up for that, went down there, and went through the 8-hour class thing. And took the test after that and passed the extra. So about 2 months apart, passed all three of them. Anyway, was 2014 when I applied for the extras, filled out the paperwork. I just checked the box, and that's when I got the new call sign. So that's where I got the KW4AG. Anyway, I'll turn it back to Adam. I didn't hear the list, and let him figure out who's next here. KW4AG. Sure, everybody.
Up next was KD4CCO, Dallas.
Well, good evening, everybody on the net. Hope everybody's staying warm and dry. It was a nice day today. I think the temperature's up in the 50s, so I enjoyed that, even washing my car. Well, it's a long story about getting my ham license. I had two uncles that were hams, and they encouraged me to do so, but I kept putting it off, and until finally, in the meantime, I was working on my commercial FCC license, Class 3 and Class 4, or correction, Class 3 and Class 2. Never did quite make the Class 1, but I didn't need it anyway for the kind of work that I was doing. Well, I eventually took the test in Elizabethton, Tennessee for my, I had the novice test and the technician test the same day, passed them both, and I was proud of that technician ticket, but seemed like it took forever to get the paper in the mail to verify that I was a hams. In the meantime, I had bought a HT radio, a Heath kit, by the way, and I was chomping at the bit to get on the air with that thing, but it took a while. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but it was a good while. And next test that I took was, I think, Adam, I was in that class that you were in. Let me reset the repeater. The test that I took was, I believe, best I can remember, was a Technician Plus. Well, the only thing I had to do was pass the code test to get that test. And just by the skin of my teeth, I was able to pass the CW portion of the test. And it wasn't too long after that they dropped the code requirements altogether. And that's when I went from a Technician Plus to an extra in one fatal sweep, I guess you could say. That was I've been an extra for quite a while, and I enjoy it quite a bit. I've got several radios here that I talk on. I've got an antenna farm out in the back of the house, and I've been retired now for 7 years, and I've been working on my various radios ever since. So with that, I'll say 73s and turn it over to Matt, KA8YAZ. Take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. So, good evening, everybody on net. I was trying to remember when I got my first license, and I was either 15 or 16. I forget which. I'm thinking maybe I was 15. Back in 85, 86, somewhere in that neighborhood. I wish I still had my first license, because I forget when it was I got it. 84, 85, somewhere, 86, somewhere in that neighborhood. And of
club here in the Wheeling area. It's now a defunct club. Triple States Radio Amateur Club offered classes and at a local college over in Ohio, just past St. Clairsville, Ohio, and I took the class and got my novice. And I think it took about 3 weeks or a month, something like that, to get the ticket in the mail. And then I took the technician class and failed that test. Took the technician class again, or technician test again, failed that, and I think finally on the third try I got my technician license. And took 2 tries for the code to get the 13 words a minute for the general. And that's where I'm stuck for right now. So one of these days I'll get the extra. So that's the scoop here. Really enjoyed it. 30, 40 some odd years, however long it's been now. And hopefully I'll still be around another 40 some odd years to be a pain in people's backside. So that's all I got. I don't know if Jeremy's going to be around. He doesn't live in a good place to hit the repeater. He was at local ice rink with his kids at hockey practice. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jeremy, and if Jeremy doesn't pick it up, Dana, you can go ahead and get it. So KD4RRK, it's over to you, K8YZ. It sounds like he's out of range of the repeater here. So Dana, N8SL NLS or whatever, I forget what your call was. Dana, go ahead and take it.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it there. This is N8SLS. Remembering my first
Dana, you dropped out there. You still with us? Okay, I'll tell you what, Dana, if you can hear us there, you dropped out. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pass it on to Mitch, and then Mitch, we picked up David KX8DRA, so if you'll pass it to him, and then Dana, if you make it back in there, we'll certainly get you back in. Go ahead, Mitch.
Good evening, everyone. Not much to my story, really. Technician test went very, very well, courtesy of the Bristol Club. Walked in, took the test, and a couple of weeks later, I had my ticket. It went very, very well. Working on extra now. 60 or 70% ready to take it. It won't be long, I hope. But the lead up to the test was pretty interesting, though. Had a relative who explained to me that you could talk all the way around the world with a little bit of electricity and a piece of wire. So I thought that sounded really, really, really interesting. So I went and took my test, and I have found out about the rest now. Very, very interesting. But it's been a pleasant journey, and I've enjoyed it. I learn something every day. And I'll turn it over to David, KX8DRA.
Okay, I was giving Dana opportunity there just in case. Of course, if you do make it back in there, we'll get you right in. All right, just a quick reminder, and I'm not sure. I'm not going to be available this Saturday. I am off, but I'm not going to be available for the Kids Connection net this Saturday. I could check in mobile if anybody picks it up. But as of right now, I haven't heard. So if you'll just keep an eye on the Kids Connection Facebook page, we'll try to post on there if we get somebody available to take the net Saturday night. And that's Kids with a Z, KIDZ. And also just a reminder right here on QSO America, they have multiple nets. So just check out the QSO America Facebook page or the Friends of Amateur Radio Group website, and you can look those up. But I will mention one in particular. The net with no name takes place every Monday and every Wednesday at 9 o'clock with early check-ins at 8:30. Of course, these are Eastern times. March the 1st and the 15th, I'm going to be filling in for Matt as net controller. Matt is moving and is going to be in the middle of that, so I've already signed up for those two nets. So right here on QSO America, March the 1st and 15th, of course it's every Monday and Wednesday, But if you're particularly fond of me and want to check in, then those two nets, I'll be the net control for the net with no name. And reminder to the local folks, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on the 443.000, the Mountain Empire 443 net. So be sure and check into that if you're local to us. And we're at the bottom of the check-in list once again, so we'll open the floor up and see, is there anyone else that would like to check in with us tonight?
Net control. Please check in Kilo Echo 8, Quebec, Papa Tango, Todd, from West Virginia.
All right, we picked up KE8QPT. I believe you said, did you say Tom? Just let me know when I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you for comments. So just let me know if that's what you go by, and I'll update our list here. As it appears you're checking in with us for the first time, so we welcome you to the net and glad to have you. If you're just joining us, our net topic is tell us about your the first test session, the one where you walked in unlicensed and eventually became licensed, and then and any fond memories you might have of that, and how long did it take to get your license in the mail or electronically, if that's the case. And of course, that topic is strictly optional. And anything else you'd like to comment on is welcome. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to you, KE8QPT. Take it away.
Thank you. Yes, appreciate the chance to get to meet and talk to you guys. I have had my license for exactly a month and took the technician's exam online. Actually logged in over the internet with a Zoom call to the Greater Los Angeles area radio group, and they do a Zoom call, and you sit with, of course, 4 other examiners and just look at the computer and take the test. And it was an interesting experience, kind of anxiety-provoking, I would say, but not being able to actually sit in a room and take a test was a new thing for me. But, in today's day and age with COVID and not being able to actually get a testing site in our state within a month, and I was ready to take the test, so I figured I'd go ahead and pull the trigger. But it was really a good experience. I got notification that I passed immediately, and had my call sign the very next day when I logged onto the website. And I'd already purchased my radio and put my antenna up, and so I was ready to get on and transmit. And that was my experience. Wonderful thing, and I'm learning something every day. It's a wonderful hobby. This is KE8QPT, back to net.
All right, well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us, because it looks like we've had a wide range of experiences from at least one or two from way back in the day when you just had a couple examiners and starting with novice class and working the way up and that kind of thing, all the way to what we know the modern VE system as it is right now, and having to wait a while for mail-in stuff, and all the way up to taking it online and being licensed the next day. So I mean, that's a wide range of experiences that we've got here, and I'm sure we all have our fond memories of going through it and enjoying the hobby as we go along here. So welcome to the net, Tom, and welcome to Ham Radio. We're glad to have you. All right, is there anyone else that would like to check in with us? All right then. Well, if all minds are clear, I'll just remind everybody you can check this net out after the fact. You can play it back on YouTube by going to Ham Radio's own YouTube channel and find a lot of past nets, and it's a good way to see what your audio sounds like. And of course, we try to do it live as well. So we had a total number of 16 check-ins tonight, and there were 5 states represented, and at one time we had 9 nodes connected. Thanks to each one of you for taking the time to check into the net. Thank you to the Bristol Amateur Radio Club and the Mears Club for the use of the local repeaters, and to the Friends of Amateur Radio Group for the use of QSO America. And thank you to our West Virginia group that connects their local node and brings us a lot of check-ins on a regular basis. This is N4NT closing the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net at 10:22 p.m. Eastern Time. 7-3, and good night.